I'm so sorry, Everton fans, and I'm so bored of. I mean, it's easy views. It really is, and it happens every single year. And usually around January, we'll have a look at the managers that have left Everton since David Moyes, who'd been there for a long time, left. It's the same crap every single year for Everton. Frank Lampard has been sacked, and I don't blame them for sacking him. To be honest, the win percentage is not good enough. I think he's managed more games than he's got points. And it has been reported. I am going early, but it's absolutely everywhere. They're just waiting on the official announcement from the club itself. But Fabrizio's gone. A lot of different outlets have gone and spoken about it. Don Hutchinson thinks that Frank Lampard should stay in the job. I think what's probably annoying here is that a lot of people quite like Frank Lampard. I quite like Frank Lampard as well. But it wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough. And as much as you don't have the budget, here's the things that are unfair on Lampard. Lamps. My good mate, Lamps. And I'm intrigued to know, I kind of wish I could do a poll on here. I can't really, but Everton fans in particular, would you have liked to have given him a bit more time, or had you seen enough? Because the squad's not that bad. I've got to be honest. I think you have two roads now that go down. And for me, the two roads are Bielsa or Dyche. And if we're looking at the favourites for it, let's have a look at it just quickly here. I've put together a lineup for how Bielsa would set up and how Dyche would set up. But actually, Joe, let's go to the list of managers first and foremost, because this is an absolute shit show. Isn't it? Honestly, so I got into football media in 2015, maybe. And since then, it was kind of okay at that point. Roberto Martinez did a good job. Did a pretty good job. Probably had a better squad by that point. But I remember him sort of moving on, and then David Unsworth not being good enough. And I was going to say, I've said to my mate, Everton fan, it's always October, November, or January every single year. And so I got this up. Unsworth made it to October. Oh, sorry, he was there for a second, wasn't he? I thought this was the case. Yeah. So Koeman comes in. He only makes it to November. He gets to the end of the season, Unsworth just about. Allardyce actually comes in November. Oh, no, sorry. Unsworth goes in November as well. It's like December. Then it's January. One thing that cannot happen here. So first, sorry, I'm all over the place. I'm just a bit like, yes, it's the right decision, but you're not giving the board any credit for making the correct decision. This is the same board that has made a very smart signing in Danjuma. Maybe it's one of those where you just take that signing, and to get Danjuma through the door is absolutely huge in terms of offering pace, finishing ability, the ability to sort of dribble past players, a bit of size about him as well, ability to play as a sort of wide forward, could play in a 2 as well. But to sign a player and then to sack the manager just shows how kind of backward it is. Now, I know you always have your coach and then you have your people above it. So fair enough from that point of view. But it's an utter mess, the amount of managers that they've made their way through. One thing that cannot happen is you can't go to Duncan Ferguson on this one. Like, imagine, you're better off sticking with Lampard, aren't you? What I would say is, you always talk about the sort of turbo boost when you get a new manager. When you look at that list of 20 managers in the Premier League, Lamps is off it. And everyone, what's always dangerous when you're kind of going, oh, he's quite a nice guy. And look, he's obviously passionate. I think he has integrity. I think he sort of cares. But I think he was leaning on the gravitas of himself as a person. I think a lot of these phone calls that he had when he brought in these players, they're all very impressed by that. But in terms of the X's and O's, he's brought in coaches as well. And in terms of those intangibles, and by the way, the fallout was going to be out today. This is Monday when I'm recording this, obviously. That will come out tomorrow, first thing. And when I recorded that, I was talking about the intangibles, because when you think of the setup there, the sort of 5 at the back, I didn't hate that setup, but you then need to be able to have a pattern of play to get you up the pitch. And what will occur if Dyche or Bielsa comes in is you won't play. I don't think you'll play 5 at the back. It certainly won't look like that. But they need something. They need some hope on the pitch, because Everton fans have no hope off it. And I think when you come to those two options, in my head, I went, you just need to find a way now. You need to, you know, there needs to be a whole rebuild and a reset, and the board needs to go. I did a video on how you fix Everton, and there's still some signings that can be made. Danjuma, I think, is a really, really good one. But the first name I thought of was Sean Dyche. And I think Sean Dyche is the guy that finds a way to get you out of this mess. The Bielsa shout is so risky. I can't begin to tell you how risky it is. It could work. And what I like about the squad is that it has size and does have energy about it. So maybe you go full throttle on that. We'll have a look at that in just a second. But here are the runners and riders. We've always got to get straight into that. Because I'm not like, oh, come on, give him time. This is ugly for Everton right now. And I'm kind of like, yeah, maybe it feels a little bit early, but you're also giving yourself enough time to kind of fix this whilst you're not cut adrift. But the runners and riders, Sean Dyche, Bielsa, Duncan Ferguson. Come on. Like, Wayne Rooney. I just think it's too big a job for Wayne Rooney at this moment in time. Surely. David Moyes to go back. I mean, he can't just run away, can he? And I think the prospects are worse. He's better off sort of sticking for sure than twisting at this moment in time. I've got to stop saying it at this moment in time, haven't I? Ralph Hasenhüttl, don't hate it. Espirito Santo, are you going to engage the people with someone like it? Postecoglou, if it's the summer, I don't hate Postecoglou because he will get them working and he will have a pattern of play there. And again, the midfield is not that bad. Leighton Baines and Thomas Frank. I think Thomas Frank would be very stupid to go from the safety of what he has to the mess, the cesspit that is that football club at this moment in time. I just did it again, didn't I? That's 3 now. God, I didn't realise. I'm starting to realise how many times I say it. Just move on. Move on with our lives. Let's talk about Sean Dyche. Because I think this is how Dyche would set up. And if it was me, I would go for Dyche. Dyche finds a way. And actually, a 4-4-2 could see some of the players that just don't fit it at all fit it much better. Obviously, McNeil, Tarkowski, you've got 2 Burnley players there. Coleman would be the one to be able to bomb on a little bit, but really it would be 2 banks of 4. They have got a surplus, I guess, of centre-backs. But again, Godfrey could provide that on the left-hand side if you want to be a bit more flowy. I remember Taylor would always would get forward a little bit more, and you could do that with Mikalenko, so you could bring in Mikalenko there. Iwobi would be the one that would probably tuck in and put those crosses in. I think if you think Chris Wood and Ashley Barnes or Chris Wood and Cornet last year, there's a lot of similarities between that and this front 2 at this moment in time. Fucking hell, I just did it again. I didn't realise it, and that's all I can say. McNeil's obviously done okay at Burnley, and just about, I guess, but he would know the structure pretty quickly. But what I do like, and now Gordon looks like his head's turned, doesn't it? But Gordon as an option here or here. Patterson, in terms of more energy, in place of Coleman, but he might just want to play safe and go with Coleman. Patterson's injured, of course, as well. And here's the kicker, guys. The French Ashley Barnes, Maupay. Could you get a lot more from Maupay if you brought him into the side? It could allow you to play Danjuma out here as well. Danjuma can play on the right-hand side as well, actually, if you want to sort of switch that about. So there are options there. And it does fit for me. And I think that crowd just needs to be in the game, to get corners, to feel the energy, because they feed off it and they get it back, and then Goodison Park can become a fortress, especially in the second half of the season. You saw that last year with Lampard, and that's what kind of got Lampard, I guess, over the line. That and having someone like Richarlison. But you know, the tricky thing for Lampard is the fact that when you lose Brazil's number 9 and you bring in Maupay and Dwight McNeil, you're going to struggle a little bit. But the fit never really felt right, did it? Let's have a look at Bielsa, though. So Bielsa is it just feels so risky. But the more time I sort of sit with it, the more time that maybe, just maybe, and again, different kind of energy, harder to implement quickly, I've got to be honest. What are the fitness levels of this team? For a team that's not been able to, for a team that's played 3 at the back and sort of defended deep and hasn't had that energy to get forward in transition, you're looking to implement a lot of stuff there. But Bielsa seems to be the front runner at this moment in time. Just did it again. Might just have to let that be. Maybe that's my thing. I'm like Gary Neville. This is a real realization. So this is how they would look with Bielsa. Godfrey and Tarkowski, Coleman as maybe a bit of an ailing. Mikalenko working on that left-hand side instead. Danjuma as that Harrison. Press. Onana getting back and forth. He does have that energy. Iwobi probably does have that energy. Again, can you get Anthony Gordon involved in all of this with the new manager? Idrissa Gueye looking to sweep up the other bits and pieces. Is he capable? Is there maybe a space for someone like a James Garner to get involved here a little bit? Possibly. Is James Garner capable of sitting there? Be a different role, but maybe Bielsa could sort of turn him into that. And DCL sort of doing that Bamford hard work. Is he going to break down? Don't know. But could Maupay do a similar thing? Again, maybe. That works better for me. Obviously with 11 players on the pitch. Possibly Danjuma here. You know, if you're going to spend that kind of money on McNeil, and the fact that, of course, he is a disciple of Dyche, then maybe that's the way to go. It feels like it's one for Dyche. I needed his voice there. Don't be online, one me. Got to be honest. Moved on from Lampard pretty quick in this video. I've got to be honest. Poor bloke. Let me know how you're feeling about this. It just felt damp. Frank felt damp. Lamp was damps. And he's not... I mean, he kind of is the scapegoat, isn't he? But you got to get more... You know, when you bring in all those players... I'm not saying they're better than the players that were there before, but you need to sort of settle on something. There's enough in that midfield for me for them to be doing better. But there's so many... Like, he's just a tiny little bit of a whole pie of shit. And once again, for what it must be the 6th year straight, I am talking about a manager mid-season going and Everton fans being disgruntled. What's the only consistent thing in all of this? Say it with me. If a fish stinks, it stinks from the head. If you enjoyed this one and you want more Everton videos, I did do a video last week, was it? I think it was. Certainly in the last 10 days, talking about how to fix Everton. Go and watch that. Go and watch it right now. See you later.